Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. It's your boy D Black coming back at you with another SmackDown review. Alright, SmackDown tonight. SmackDown really sucked. It wasn't really it was not good. Nothing leading up, making you want to say, okay, tomorrow night is WrestleMania and I want to see WrestleMania. Nothing. Nothing tonight brought you to that assumption and stuff. But we had Pat McAfee and Randy Orton, driving up, into the stadium and stuff to meet with Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis hands Pat McAfee, a contract, and Pat McAfee is saying that, he'll take the contract and read it on his own time and everything, saying that, because he's a self-made billionaire and stuff like that, and that he accomplished a lot to where he is and stuff like that. And so they're just talking smack and everything. And then Randy tells both Pat and Nick that he needs something to say, and he was going to go out to the ring, and say it. And then he gets out to the ring and he says, that he doesn't need Pat McAfee and stuff, but he wants Pat McAfee, like to be in his corner, because Pat McAfee doesn't tell him what he wants to hear. He tells him what he needs to hear, you know and then says all he needed to do is just be himself. You know. Then he says that he didn't want that he had to do and win. That he done everything that he could do to get to the point to where he's at. He won the Elimination Chamber. He knew he was supposed to fight Drew McIntyre. He didn't get a chance to fight Drew McIntyre only because Cody Rhodes was, fought Drew McIntyre, won the title back. Now he has to go and fight Cody, saying that him and Cody, are friends and stuff like that, and now he has to do the things, to Cody, they don't want to because they're such good friends, but just so much full of crap and everything, And then he said that who was Cody to have him give him permission to be himself. Then he says that he wrote a book on himself, and because he's the Viper and he listens to the voices in his head and he doesn't listen to anybody and stuff, So and he said that he wants to destroy Cody, but because of their friendship, then he goes on and says that Cody takes a lot of stuff from him and everything because um, I guess back when Cody was going to go up against The Rock and Roman, he went and got Seth Rollins to be his tag team partner and stuff. He didn't call the Randy Orton. And then when Cody had the problem with the bloodline, you know when he needed help, it wasn't him that he went. It was him that came out to help Cody and stuff. So I guess I kind of feel what Randy Orton is talking about and everything because he did come out and he did help Cody in a few situations, but not just Randy and everything. And somehow I don't even know how this feud even got started with even the both of them and stuff. Even though Randy says it's because he knew he was going to fight Drew, and Cody won the title from Drew. So, and that's how this got started and everything. But anyway, Randy's saying that at WrestleMania he's going to win and take back his legacy. And with the three most dangerous letters, he's going to hit Cody with the RKO and win the title, number 15. Excuse me. Then we go on to a somewhat what you call a street fight against the MFTs and the Wyatt Six. The match goes on. It has nothing to do with anything. I guess this is the finishing match that they'll have, the MFTs and the Y6 will have against each other. As Tama Tonga was about to ready to put his finishing move, Solo tagged in and he hits, I think, one of the Wyatts with the spike and then he pins and then, Solo kind of stole the match away from Tama Tonga. But anyway, the MFTs win that match. Then we get R-Truth, and Damian Priest, and R-Truth to tell Damian Priest that they have a a battle with the New Day. So he's saying, well, the New Day's not together, because Xavier Woods is out, and he said, no, Woods isn't out, and he was talking about Grayson Wallor and stuff, and he had David the Priest all mixed up and stuff like that. And it was all right, little thing and stuff like that. But anyway, that led to that. And then we get Danhausen interrupting the Miz at a wedding ceremony that him and Maurice are having. I guess redoing their vows since everything is in Vegas and everything. And you know, Danhausen puts a curse on Maurice, and then she face plants her face into the cake and stuff. So that was a little crazy thing. I think it's supposed to come on YouTube later on or tomorrow sometime to see that whole thing. Then they did a little film promo with Royce Keys, talking about some of his life, the passing of his mom and stuff like that and everything. And then we go on to Jacob Fatu coming out, arriving at the stadium in a police car and stuff. Then he gets out of the police car, you know, and he says that he, talking to Drew McIntyre, that he's not ashamed about anything that he's done, and stuff, and what he did in the past, because whatever he done in the past, is left behind in the past and stuff like that. And then he said, just like his stuff in the past, when he gets there at WrestleMania, he's gonna beat the crap out of Drew, and then he's gonna leave Drew behind in the past too, you know. So that wasn't much, about that. There wasn't anything great. So, in fact, Drew McIntyre wasn't even at the stadium. And then we get Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. They're talking about, wearing the tag team titles, at WrestleMania, which they've always done that, talking and stuff like that. So, but anyway, who cares about that match? And then we get the tag team title match between R-Truth and Damian Priest versus Kofi Kingston and Grayson Waller. The match was all right. Damian Priest and R-Truth, they win the match and stuff. So nothing really biggie between that and everything. And then we get the promo. Jay Cargill comes out, and she comes out with B-Fab and Meech, and as she's about ready to talk, out comes Rhea Ripley. More or less they say the same thing, that they've been saying, a couple of weeks, been calling each other the B word and everything and stuff like that. Who's stronger than who, and who's this, and who's that, and everything. And Rhea says, to Jade that she's afraid to face her, face to face, and then Jade, she has no problem facing her and everything. And then Rhea tells her, well, you talk, if you got something to say it to me, you know, and say it alone and stuff. So Meech and Beef got the ring. They exchange some more words. Rhea promises that she's gonna beat, you know, Jade's tail. She calls her, the B word again and stuff like that. And then Jade, gets out of the ring and leaves. So there's nothing really. I mean, I don't know what to say about this. WrestleMania is gonna be dry. It's gonna be dry. Then we have the MFTs, Souls talking about, now that they've beat, the Y6, and they put, them behind them and everything. And next thing, they all want to go, as far as, for belts and everything. So Souls tell them the next thing they're going to do is, try to go get the tag team titles and stuff, win that back. And then he tells Talatonga, that, to get ready for the Under the Giant Battle Royal and stuff. And I think Tomatunga is not feeling Solo. I think there's going to be a fallout between them two, you know. But anyway, we get the senseless match between Tiffany Stratton and Jordynne Grace. I guess as the number one contender to see who's going to wrestle Julia for the women's U.S. title. Tiffany Stratton, she wins the match, so I guess somewhere down the line, she'll be wrestling Julia for that women's U.S. title. Then we got Trick Williams, coming out, and Trick Williams, he my boy. I like Trick Williams and stuff. He's coming out, um, saying that he has something to get off his mind and everything. So he talks about Sammy hitting Little Yachty with the Haluna kick last week and stuff. So he said that it's going to mess up his entrance. Coming into WrestleMania. So then Sami Zayn, he comes out, you know, and then you hear his music, you hear Sami Zayn's music. Excuse me, but it's not him. It's a gingerbread guy. He comes out in a gingerbread costume and stuff. And then out comes Sami Zayn, the real Sami Zayn. you know, and then Sammy's saying that he's not having a good time, he's not having fun and everything. And the people, the fans, are just booing Sami Zayn, you know. And, and then he tells Trick Williams that he hasn't showed him anything, what he can do in the ring as far as to beat him and everything. He says he calls Trick Williams nothing but a punk, rookie, and he has no plan, for WrestleMania to beat him. And Trick Williams, says that he has a plan, you know, but he's the only one he knows that can get the job done. So he's saying that he could beat, you know, Sami Zayn and stuff. And then they brawl. And after they brawl, Sami Zayn clotheslines Trick Williams over the top rope, and then Sami Zayn is in there with the gingerbread guy. Then Haluna kicks the gingerbread guy, and then Trick Williams gets into the ring, and he hits Sammy with the trick shot, and that's done for that whole segment. And then Trick picks up the belt. He holds the belt up and everything, and that's how it's going to be at WrestleMania. Trick Williams will take that title, hopefully from Sami Zayn then. And then we get a match that's supposed to be with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. But this match never got started. It's a no contest match because Nia Jax and Last Legend came and they hit the ring and they beat up both teams and stuff. So they laid them, left them laying. The Bellas didn't get involved because Brie is still trying to heal from an injury that she had last week. Then we got the Under the Giant Battle Royal. It was okay. I think at the film promo with Royce Keys, that kind of told you who was gonna win because during that promo they said who was in it, he was in it, and everything. So Royce Keys, wins the Andre Battle Royal, and I hope they don't do him like they did Carmelo Hayes because Carmelo Hayes won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal last year, and it took a while for them to get him off, off the feet and get, and in the air. And as they put the belt on Camilo Hayes, but they dogged him out in that. Triple H, did a bad thing. I mean, they're not booking their stars like they need to, man. It's crazy how they got things going. And Carmelo Hayes, I still believe, should be at WrestleMania. He's not and stuff. He wasn't even in the Andre the Giant, Battle Royal. Even though he won it last year, he should at least been in it this year or has some kind of spot somewhere in WrestleMania. But no, it's I don't know. WrestleMania is gonna suck. Now I just keep having to say that. I'm sorry. But anyway, Royce Keys is the Under the Giant Battle Royal winner. And then we come out with the segment with Cody Rhodes. And whew, he's saying that, about Randy, Orton not taking responsibility for his actions and stuff like that and everything. And that, you know, in 2009, Randy Orton, was at the top of his game, doing everything that he could and stuff, But when he got to WrestleMania for the time for him to win the title, he blew it. He didn't win and stuff. And basically, I guess Cody is saying that's not his fault. And then CM Punk comes out, and here we got the love fest. I love you, you love me. No, I love you. And then they hug each other and stuff like that, which is crazy. So why is CM Punk out here with Cody Rhodes and stuff? I mean, it absolutely made zero sense. And like I said, WrestleMania is tomorrow, and I don't know how this is gonna go. I have no idea how this is gonna go. It's gonna be bad. Cody gives CM Punk a little something about facing Roman Reigns, but I think CM Punk already knows about Roman Reigns and everything like that. So I'm hoping and I'm thinking that in order for things to get better, Roman Reigns has to beat CM Punk for that title, and Randy Orton has to beat Cody Rhodes for his title. Change them two titles. Let's get this program back on track and stuff. And with that, thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, leave a comment, hit the bell, and I'll say thank you for watching. God bless, deuces, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you. And excuse me for for the snivels and everything. I'm catching a cold.